Welcome to this week's masterclass. I run these live every Monday. Last week we had some technical difficulties, so we missed it, but it's in the past. It doesn't matter. So let's get into it. First, I always do one thing. I like to make sure that my audio is working. So give me a second. Let me make sure that I can be heard because I had a week one time where nobody could hear me, and I was like, that is not good. Let me see. Okay, I am live. One time where nobody could hear me. And I was like, that. You can hear me. Perfect. Okay. So today what we're going to do is this is called the Experience to Income Masterclass. So what you can expect today is we're going to turn your skills, life experience, or knowledge into a digital product you can sell even if you do not have a large audience, okay? I don't want you to start thinking about audience size or any of that right now. We're going to work on figuring out what you can create and use as a digital offer. All right. Let me get my mouse going. So today, what you'll leave here able to do. First, identify one digital product that you can create. At the end of this class, you will have the knowledge to go and create a digital product. Full transparency, I will be giving an offer at the end. So if you want to stick around and see about ways to be supported beyond this masterclass, that is going to be in here too. I like surprises. I don't like those kind of pop-up surprises. So I like to let y'all know that that's what's coming. The second thing you're going to be able to do is understand what actually sells online, okay? And then the last piece is learn how to turn your experience into income. That is what all of this is about. So if you are popping in early, make sure you have a notebook. If you don't, this recording will be available on my YouTube channel when all is said and done. So really quickly, you can't even see the bottom. It's okay. Really quickly, who am I? Why am I doing this? What is this? So my name is Nikki. I am a business and identity coach for women. My background is in corporate sales. Okay. I have a corporate sales background. I have done retail sales. I've done B2B sales, which is business to business, and I've done B2C sales. Okay. I am certified as a spiritual life coach, a storytelling coach, and 100% an art therapy coach. Back in my college days, I did study business and psychology out in San Jose, California. And since 2019, I have created and sold multiple digital offers. And now I teach women exactly how to turn their experience into income. Okay. And I've created these offers across different niches. I'm going to give you some examples here in a moment, but that is a little bit about my background and why I do this. I just firmly believe that we should be in charge of our own income. Even if you have a job, you should always have an additional income stream to that. That is a philosophy that I live by. So right here, you can see some of the people who have been able to turn random, I'll call them random, right? Who've been able to turn different things into cash flow from their own lived experiences, okay? From their own experience. So on the top left, one of my clients, she's an anxious attachment coach. She helps women overcome anxious attachment styles so they can have secure relationships. She has turned a messy breakup into a digital business. Down there at the bottom, and my head is covering that one. Let me see if I can change it. Let's see. Oops. Oh, I don't like that one. Okay, there we go. My head can change it. So right there on the bottom left, budget travel entrepreneur. She is somebody who helps she's the entrepreneur. She helps people do budget travel. So people who want to see the world and have, this idea that it's going to be expensive, that it's going to cost too much. She is really good at finding flight deals. She's been to, I believe, over 24 countries, and she has turned that experience into a digital business. In the middle, an opera singer turned teacher / coach. She has turned her singing capabilities into a business. Okay. Top right, we have a move abroad mentor. She has turned her living abroad situation into a digital business for people who want to leave the United States and go live in another country. And then at the bottom, a Christian life coach. She was able to turn her faith and her confidence building into a business model to help other women, also in their own faith and building confidence and things like that. So this is just a little snippet of the people that I've worked with and the examples of how anything can really be a business. Anything can be a digital offer. And so when we were getting into more examples, these are the offers that I have created across different niches. Okay. So the very first offer I ever created was taking my corporate sales background and turning it into an ebook. I turned it into an ebook for service providers. And what I did is inside of the ebook, I taught them exactly how to go find clients, how to, run discovery meetings. So this was very sales call focused. And then how to, close clients, and then how to use those clients to gain referrals. So that's the very first product I ever created. I created this back in 2019. That's me with my little baby at the time. I had no idea what a digital product was when I created this. I was on maternity leave, and I wanted to not have to go back to corporate, right? I wanted to not rely on corporate for income. From there, I learned what a niche was, and that is when I started targeting fitness coaches. So if you're just tuning in, we are learning how different products that we can create across different niches to turn experience into income. So with this, with the sales, I then started targeting fitness coaches. So this is um how to grow your fitness business, right? So personal trainers, they're really good at getting you fit, they're good at nutrition, they're good at, muscle building and all of that. They might not be the best at sales. So I started teaching them how to do sales for their business. And that was when my second ebook was created. At this time, I started to learn exactly what digital products were. And so I took that same ebook and I created a live course. And so it was like a small group coaching package called Fitness Business Bootcamp. And from there, over 6 weeks, I taught what was inside the ebook live. People could ask questions, people had access to me, and we were able to help grow, or I was able to help others grow their fitness business. During this whole process, I started to get into email marketing. And from email marketing, mixed with spirituality, I had a little spiritual awakening going. I created the Soul Led Storytelling for $1 Million Emails course. This was my first ever self taught course. I was not live in it. It was curriculum that I created and it sold on the back end. Okay. So I was able to teach service providers how to use email marketing in their business, how to sell using emails, and how to, raise their open rates and get engagement and things like that, right? So that came after the fitness niche transition. Then I took a business break. And from my business break, I had my second baby and I had a very difficult postpartum the second time around. And I then came back into business and decided to create a mom's journey to mindfulness ebook based off of my own experience of having a difficult postpartum. And so I tell you all of these different products that I've created because I want you to be able to see how there really are no limitations, right? And we're going to get into more examples and how you can apply this later on in the class. So, Mindful Minute Method, something I created to be able to have calm within the chaos of that I was experiencing at the time. And I turned that into an ebook to help moms who were having difficult postpartum journeys. After that, I launched what was called Intuitive Writing Mastery. So this was for the spiritual women who wanted to deepen their spirituality, who wanted to really learn how to, get in touch with their higher self, get in touch with their intuition, different things like that. So that is where Intuitive Writing Mastery came from my own personal spiritual awakening journey. After creating a multitude of ebooks I had sold, I then went in and created How to Write an Ebook and Teach What You Know, which was the transition period into what I do now. So that was the get back into business book for me. And then from there, I created Digitalize Your Expertise, which is a self-taught course to teach women how to take their experience, take their skills, take their knowledge, and turn it into a digital business. Okay. So not everything has to be business focused. Not everything that I've created and sold is on here. Okay. I have created 90-day journaling plans. I have created meditation bundles, right? So any type of experience, any skill that you have, anything like that, once you learn how you can package it and you find the audience for it, you will then learn how to see yourself as the authority to be able to sell it. And that's what we're going to get into right now. So, why do most people never sell what they know? The first reason is they don't think it's valuable. When you sit inside of an experience for so long, you start to look at it as just something that's normal, something that happens to everybody, something that's not necessarily, valuable to sell, right? So we're going to fix that today. They think the market is saturated. This one I always find interesting, but people tend to think the market is saturated. Well, everybody's already doing it. But what I want you to think about is if everybody's already doing it and they're making money from it, that means there's a demand. And so it's okay to get in on the demand. And I'm going to show you how your story and your unique positioning is going to make you stand out in the market. And then the last piece is they don't know, I should say they don't know. They don't know how to package it clearly. They're not really sure how to take, the experience and turn it into a teachable system. And so we are going to jump in and start fixing that right now. So, one last piece before we jump in, I want to pivot some common fears that I see all the time. So the first fear that I always see is I don't know what to sell. And I want you to start to think of it like this. I know how to speak to my transformation and that is enough to get started, okay? That's all you need. It's all been done. The market is saturated, right? Like I said, your story and your voice is what's going to make it unique. Whenever you think something is saturated, I want you to go walk down the bread aisle and I want you to I want you to think about how many different brands of bread you see that kind of have the same thing in the packaging, right? How many wheat breads are there? How many oat breads are there? Gluten-free breads, white bread, right? All of these different kinds of breads. And people are still making bread. Okay, people are still doing it. And then the last one that comes up a lot is selling feels icky. And the thing of it is, a lot of people haven't been taught how to sell in a way that is just, it feels like service and it's very aligned, right? And that's what I teach my clients is how to make sales feel like a second nature, not feel like this gross, chasing and convincing and all of that. We don't do that over here, okay? So you take a shot every time Nikki says so. You have something that is teachable. And I want you to think of it in two different ways, right? You have the things that people ask you about, and you have the things that you have figured out. So, some examples of things people might ask you about: budgeting, fitness, career changes, parenting, organization, right? Maybe finance, maybe, travel, right? Different things like that that people ask you, well, how do you do that? Or how can I do something like that? If you have people asking you for it, you have a demand already. Then you have a second category, things that you have figured out. Maybe you figured out a way to pay off debt without giving up everything that you love. Maybe you figured out weight loss. You've figured out weight loss in a sustainable way to still have food while still having food that tastes good. Okay. Maybe you've experienced some form of healing, anxious attachment healing, spiritual healing, healing after divorce, healing after postpartum, right? Some type of healing that can absolutely be turned into a digital product. Time management. This is a big one. You figured out time management as a corporate leader with two toddlers. Something, as a corporate leader who's also a mom, as a corporate leader who's a soccer mom, right? You have a time management system, a time management structure, and that is something that you were able to figure out. And now you have a methodology behind that. We could turn that into a digital offer. And the last two examples, confidence. Maybe you figured out confidence after divorce, confidence to go attract a mate, right? Confidence for public speaking, different things like that. And then postpartum. Postpartum is always a good one. I know of a creator. She's not a client of mine, but I do know of her who she did 2 under 2 and she started her business with 2 under 2 with, first it was surviving 2 under 2 and then it was understanding simple activity guides for independent play and things like that, right? So any experience can get you started. And then as life goes on, you can expand on it. So those examples that I gave you, they could become an ebook or a guide, and I'll get into a full breakdown of each of these in a couple of slides. They could become a workshop or a masterclass. A masterclass is something like this. You get on and you teach. They could become a mini course, little 90-minute bite-size video type of structure, or they could become a coaching container, more high ticket, more hands-on, more of your time required, but a deeper transformation. So when you think about your life experience, I want you to think about what skills have you learned? Like I said, what do people come to you for advice on? What major experience did you have to go through that shaped you today? And lastly, what would you consider yourself an expert on? Okay. I'm an expert on helping people turn just about anything into a business model. And I had to figure out like, okay, well, how can I turn that expertise into a business model, right? And that is where this comes from. That is where this class comes from. So your offer lives inside of something that you have already solved. This is the best way to get started in business. When we think about where our offer is going to sit, I want you to look at this, the three most profitable niches, okay? These are niches that are already in demand. These are niches that people will pay for because they want to feel good. So first, health, weight loss, muscle gain, right? Those are always obvious. Hormone health, fitness, mental health. Um Confidence could go into the health category, right? That's kind of like a overlap between health and relationships. But health is just how you feel overall. Like I said, weight loss, fitness, those are the health industry has been around for God knows how long, probably since television first started, before television, I would say. And it's still going to be going on for the end of time until we are off this planet, right? The next major profitable niche is going to be wealth. Now, when you think of wealth, it doesn't always have to be helping people make money. Wealth can also be things like budgeting. It can be debt payoff, right? It can be helping people save money, helping people look at money differently, right? Those fall into the wealth category, along with making more money, side hustles, different things like that. Okay. So those are your wealth. Wealth is anything about money is going to go into the wealth niche. And I will say this, when it comes to being in the wealth niche and doing the money niche and different things like that, if you help people make money and your income is not where you want it to be, but you have solid proof that you've helped others, I want you to own that. Okay. And I say that from experience because I have definitely helped people make more money than I have. And I had to really recognize that that is a skill that I have, because what happens sometimes is when we can do it for others and not ourselves, we start to downplay it. So don't start if you've got testimonials and you've helped people make money and this and that, own it. Okay. And then the last one is going to be relationships. So relationships, obviously we have our romantic relationships, right? Dating, marriage, different things like that. But relationships can also be platonic, right? Community building, friendships, those can fall under the relationships category. Parenting falls under the relationship category. My postpartum ebook would fall under relationships at the end of the day, because it's the relationship of the parent, right? The mom to the child and then the mom to herself. So when you think about that, this should simplify the niche process. We tend to overcomplicate it and be like, well, I don't fit into any of those, so I don't really know, maybe I shouldn't create that. But just about all of them can fit into it. I will talk about one more, which is like I'd consider a sub niche. That would be spirituality. Spirituality does sell. There is a market for spirituality, but it should be tied to something else. When you think about getting an astrology reading, for example, the bigger picture is usually, how can I make more money using my birth chart? How can I attract a partner? What type of partner is best for me, right? Different things like that. So even though we use spiritual tools and spirituality is absolutely a part of it, I want you to think about it as like a subdivision and what would you call it? Like a vehicle, so to speak, to get into one of these other niches, okay? So when defining your transformation, think about the before and after that you experience. I got to move this screen because y'all can't see that. Think about the before and after. What are the tangible and emotional results that you experienced? Okay. And then what's going to become possible for them after the transformation? So before, maybe they're overwhelmed. That's a feeling, right? That's an emotional thing. But then the tangible result after is they have systems in place. The emotional result after is they have clarity. Maybe they're broke right now. They don't have money. They don't know how to make money. They don't know how to save money, right? The emotional feeling is stuck, frustrated, annoyed, um, you know, a little identity loss, right? Thinking like, God, I should be further ahead than this, right? And then you help them. They go through your product. Now, the tangible result after is they have income. But then the emotional aspect of it is they have clarity, they have confidence, they feel secure, right? These are different things that tie into it. Okay. So, as we get into defining the transformation and creating your framework here in a moment, start to think about that process. How did you feel at the beginning? What were you experiencing at the beginning? And then towards the end, where did you go? So, I misordered them. This slide should have came first. Defining the transformation. So first you're in the experience, right? That is the first part. You're in the experience and you're struggling. You're like, I don't like this, right? So then step 2 is the realization to change, right? I'm realizing that I need to do something different. And so you start to implement and do something different. And after you implement and do something different, the outside, the step 3 is going to be the transformation, who you become at the end. And so when thinking of your transformation, I want you to think about the 3 to 5 steps that you have personally taken or would guide someone else through to move them from stuck where they're at now into momentum, right? Into the transformation. So let's look at some examples. The first example, the 20-minute cleaning system, right? This could be a framework. So maybe you're really good at cleaning. Maybe you're really good at keeping a tidy house, right? You're structured, you're organized, your house is immaculate, and you have small children and work a full-time job. So you might be thinking in the beginning, you're probably thinking, I don't have time to clean my house. That's where your ideal client is stuck right now. I don't have time to clean my house. I don't know how to stay organized as there's too much stuff, right? And then the realization is the overwhelm wasn't about time, it was about a lack of systems. You have the systems. This is the system that you created inside of your methodology. So now at the end, you have a 20-minute daily cleaning system that keeps her house tidy without overwhelm while having 3 kids under 6. Simple framework, the 20-minute cleaning system, right? So something like this could become a $27 cleaning system PDF, right? You could do it as a PDF file. It's a checklist. It, breaks down the steps that you took to implement this 20-minute cleaning system. And you take that and you write it and you sell it as a ebook for 27, right? You could run this as a live workshop, a $47 live reset your home workshop, right? So you invite people into this workshop and you teach them your 20-minute cleaning system. Maybe you turn it into a mini course. You go a little bit more in depth, right? And so it's a mini course. There's weekly routines, there's weekly implementation things that they can do. And that is your new mini course. Or lastly, you can turn it into a coaching system, or I'm sorry, a coaching container. So the $1,000, maybe it's $1,000 a month, right? And it's a home systems, and you actually work with clients one-on-one to figure out what exactly the disconnect is, what they're looking for, and things like that. And now they have a tailored solution to them versus versus a generic solution, right? So this is how one experience can become 4 different products, 4 different price points. Let's look at another example. The debt to freedom framework. I love this one. I created it myself. No. So first thing, I want to get out of debt. I want to get out of credit card debt, but I don't want to stop having fun. That's a limiting belief, right? There's a belief that in order to get out of debt, we have to give up every single thing enjoyable. But then they realize it wasn't about fun. It's about unconscious spending patterns and emotional habits that's driving the debt, right? And so they work with you, and now they get to create an 18-month debt payoff plan without giving up everything enjoyable, because they realize a lot of the overspending has nothing to do with enjoyment. It just has a lot to do with unconscious patterns. And so now we need to just become more aware, more intentional spending, right? So some framework like this could become a $27 debt freedom tracker. You could do a $47 pay off debt without deprivation workshop. So you put little slides together, you have them bring in their income goal, or I'm sorry, their debt reduction goal, and you work together in a workshop. $197 6-week debt reset program. You could do a small group of people and have them come in, and we start to map out a a reset program for them, right? Again, without giving up everything enjoyable. Or You're hosting financial clarity coaching. Maybe it's $1,000 for a VIP day. Maybe it's $1,000 a month, right? $1,000 intensive, or higher. That's just a starting point. And you're working with them one on one to really help them implement this framework. And the last example before we move on, the mid career pivot method. So you got somebody who's 35, 45, right? Somewhere in that age bracket. They're like, I hate my job. I hate what I do. I can't stand it anymore, but I'm too old to change careers. I'm not gonna, I can't start at the bottom, right? I don't want to start at the bottom to change careers. And then they work with you and they realize the fear wasn't about age, it was about income stability and not knowing how to reposition existing skills. They're thinking they have to start from the very bottom. You're like, wait a second, you have a lot of transferable skills. They've never heard of a transferable skills. They've been in finance for 30 years, right? Different things like that. So now they're able to change industries mid career in 6 months without starting over financially. So this can look like, again, a $47 career clarity workshop or a $197 career pivot mini course, right? You can do a $1,000 8-week transition program, and you're helping them take your methods and put it into put it into practice so that they can have a career transition. Maybe it's a 3K career reinvention coaching, right? You go real in depth with them. You do it, $3,000 for 3 months or 4 months, or you could even do 6,000 for 6 months, right? And really help them throughout every aspect of the process. So, when you think about defining the transformation, the biggest thing to remember is sell them what they want, but give them what they need. So, when we look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, we have to start with the bottom here. So, the physiological needs and then the safety and security needs, right? When it comes to, if we're looking at the career coaching, right? They still need financial security to be down here, and they need safety and security. Those are what they need, right? But what you're actually, or those are what they want, excuse me. What you're actually going to be giving them alongside of that is also a self-esteem boost. They they think it's too old, they're too old, right? They think they can't change. They think that by changing, they're going to lose the needs they need down here. And so this is where you sell them what they want, but you're going to give them what they need. Okay. So, how does your framework become an offer? We looked a little bit about how to use the same framework and deliver it differently, right? And so, for example, an ebook or a guide, this is how you explain your framework steps in written form. A masterclass or a workshop is where you teach the steps live. Okay, you teach them live. Masterclass, you're kind of teaching at them, if you will. A workshop is you're working together. A course or a mini course is where you record the modules for each step. A mini course is usually going to take about 90 minutes to complete. Okay. So it can still have 3 to 4 modules, but if they're going to be bite sized modules, it should not take that long. I think about 2 hours is like the max, right? Once you get past that, then you're into course territory and you can have more modules. You can go a little bit deeper, but this is where then you would do a pre recorded session and then you put them into a course builder and you sell that on repeat. Excuse me. Then you have coaching. Coaching is where you're going to guide the clients through each step. So you're going to guide them into how to, right? This is more on the accountability level because they're going to be checking in with you weekly or bi-weekly. And you're going to be helping them on a deeper level be able to get done what they need to get done. So when choosing your digital offer, keep it really simple for the first one. If you like talking, go with the masterclass. If you like writing, go with an ebook. If you like coaching, go ahead and with a container, open a coaching container. And if you want a guided curriculum, if you want them to be able to, go in and really see in depth of your methodologies, then create a course. I personally Well, I have all of these, but I personally got started with an ebook because I like to write. Okay. And then I expanded beyond that as time went on. But when I was first trying to figure it out, I was like, hey, I like to write. I've got this skill. I'm going to go ahead and write an ebook. Right. So start with where you are best at right now, think about your output, think about the energy output that you have, and then expand on it later. When it comes to pricing your digital offer, here's how I want you to think about it. So, you have your low ticket digital. These are going to be your ebooks, your guides, toolkits, which is essentially, um, templates and different files and things into like a bundle. That's a toolkit. And then templates. Templates is going to be like email templates, sales scripts, things like that. Okay. Those are templates. Low ticket digital is going to be anything that's like in written format like that. Those are typically going to run from $17 to $97. You create it once, you sell it on repeat. The next tier is going to be live teaching. Live teaching, if you're not using it as a free lead magnet, but you're actually wanting to sell it, those are going to run a little bit higher because you are involved in the process a little bit more. You are on camera, you are giving a structured lesson. So those you can price anywhere from $47 to $297. When you do that, think about your deliverables. If you're delivering a worksheet with it, the perceived value is going to increase as well. Then you have your self-paced course. A mini course is going to run about 97 to I believe like $297, right? Then you have a signature course. Those can go $300 and up. I put 497. I have seen courses go beyond 497. So you are not capped at that number, okay? Price it for what the value is behind it. And the last piece is going to be a coaching container, one-on-one versus group, or not versus, one-on-one or group. So a group coaching container is going to look like multiple people. You meet with them via Google Meets, via Zoom, asynchronously through Voxer, however you want to do it. And you're coaching multiple people at one time inside of a container. Or you have one-on-one coaching and it's just you and one other person. If you're going to run both, price your one-on-one higher than the group because they have full access to you, right? Based on your own operating hours. So, why do most digital products fail? The first thing is no audience or no market research. So, if you are going to create an offer, take the experience that you want to teach on and put it into social media search bars, put it into Google, go to Ask the People. I think it's called askthepeople.com, right? See if people are actually searching for that. And if they are searching for that, start to look at what type of product they're searching for. So, for example, with my previous client who did the anxious attachment, when we searched anxious attachment through TikTok, we found anxious attachment workbook, anxious attachment workshop, right? So we knew, okay, people are searching for this specific product to have this specific solution, right? So take your time and do a little bit of research. The second reason that they don't sell is people don't know about it. You cannot talk about it for a week and say it didn't make any money and then run off, okay? You want to continuously talk about your product. So when choosing that experience, make sure that it's something that you can talk about consistently over and over again. Make sure it's something that lights you up, but also something that you feel confident in sharing over and over again. And then the last reason is the transformation is unclear. People operate in a what's in it for me mindset, right? And so if the transformation is not clear at the end, this is why it's not going to sell. This is what is going to make it, a little bit this is what a confused buyer doesn't buy basically. So the last thing I want you to remember is your digital offer is only as good as you energetically believe in yourself to teach it. So choose an offer that you feel confident in teaching. So like I said, take a shot every time Nikki says so. To recap, we clarified an experience. I showed you how to outline a method, mapped a digital offer, and then determine how to determine if it's viable. As I mentioned earlier, I would have an offer for those of you who want to continue along this journey and really, build something beyond just a digital product. So, some of you are falling into two separate categories. Category 1 is going to be the DIY approach, right? I've got enough, I want to do it myself. I have something for my DIYers. The second category is going to be hands-on guidance. You got a lot, but you want guidance in building it out and taking this and turning it into a full business model. I have something for you as well. So the first thing that I have is going to be digitalize your expertise. This is for the DIYers. I am running a March promo right now. It is on sale for $147. This is a self-taught course that's going to teach you how to turn your story, skills, or experience into a fully built, packaged, and marketed digital offer. Okay. You will learn how to identify your digital experience or your digital expertise, choose your best fit product. So I go back over the product types and how to pick the right one for you. How to build and design your offer in Canva so you don't have to guess, like, how do I structure this? I've never created anything. What do I do? That's there's a breakdown fully in the course. How to host and deliver it using StanStore. You need a link in bio tool. I walk you through how to set that up. How to use story selling as a sales strategy. That one is key because if you are a sales feels icky person, you are going to love that training because we don't do it. We don't do it like pressure vibes at all. Okay. And then, of course, how to market your digital product so that people can find you and actually purchase it. So let me grab you that link really quick for my DIY people. Let me see. Copy. I'm going to put that in the comment section. So this one is the DIY approach for digitalize your expertise. If you are watching on Substack, you may have to DM me. I don't know if you can see the comments. YouTube can see the comments. Substack might not be able to. And so if that's the case, send me a DM with send me a DM that says DIY and I will get you the link. You can also go to my Substack profile, head over to resources, and it's going to be right there. Now, for the people who want more of hands-on guidance, this is what I have for you. So hands-on guidance would be inside of the Empress Authority, which is a 6-month CEO coaching program. So inside of this program, we take your experience and not only do we turn it into a digital offer, but we turn it into a full business model. And this happens through 4 phases. Phase 1 is going to be the inner authority. And this is where we figure out the experience that you feel the most authoritative in. And we take that and we turn it into an offer within your first 30 days. So by the first 30 days, you will have something to sell. Phase 2 is then going to be messaging authority and positioning. So how to take that experience and turn yourself into the authority to talk about it online. Okay. And so that people know, hey, I'm going to go to so and so for financial help, or I'm going to go to so and so for, spiritual growth or whatever it is, right? Then in the third phase, we're going to get into expansion, systems, and digital hierarchy. Your business should run even when you are out living your life. I am a firm believer in that, okay? As a mom with 3 small children, I don't want to be online all day. Okay, so this is where we get into the expansion, the systems, and the digital hierarchy piece. And then the last phase of this is going to be the legacy and evergreen model. So this is your systems are set up. We figure out what works best for you and your capacity to be able to continue to show up and run your business, like I said, without you having to be online 24/7. So some of the things that are inside on more of less out of phases and more on like what else does it come with. So everybody gets a 30-minute one-on-one onboarding call to lay the foundation. And then after that, like I said, your first offer is going to be created in the first 30 days. We do live coaching calls every Thursday for 6 months with replays. So replays are available. You get the private community access for ongoing support. And then inside of the I get you modules and curriculum, with templates and things like that so that you're not guessing what to do next. I forgot to put a bullet point on here. There is also Voxer hours. So you do get Voxer hours with me. I don't overload this container because I do want to have a little bit of a one-on-one support layer just for last minute questions, how to do, how to position something, whatever it is, right? So this one is, like I said, it's 6 months, it's 6,000 pay in full. If you need a payment plan, there are payment plan options through Klarna and through Afterpay. Okay, so payment plans do exist. Like I said, through Klarna and through Afterpay. Those usually start around 100 and something dollars a month. And so if this is, let's see, hands on. If this is the approach that you want to take, I will drop that link into the comments section. And again, if you are on Substack and you can't see the comments, you can DM me the word Empress or hands on, and I'll know exactly what you need. Okay. And I'll get you the link. Or you can go to the homepage and look at the resources tab. So, thank you to those of you who joined. You can go create, you can go teach, you can go sell now. If you have any questions, you want to discuss next steps in further detail, you can send me a DM. My username is at Nikki Lynn Mayo across all the social channels you see above. I would recommend DMing me on Substack. I'm on there the most. If you DM me on TikTok, I don't go on there that often. So I would say Substack, Threads, or Instagram. Send me a DM over there. If you have any questions or you want to discuss things in further detail, we can do that. But again, thank you for joining, and I will see you all on Substack later. Bye.